questions on the state of the economy as Parliament commenced. Telecom cables sabotaged at various points in the city. And World Water Day celebrated amidst challenges.
This is National EMTV News with Hope Imaka.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. This is Tuesday's news. Telecom technicians are working around the clock to fix damages to their fiber cables at multiple points around the city. Telecom describes the extensive damages as sabotage. EMTV visited locations in Badili and Gordon's Industrial where the worst damage will take a week to repair before normal service is restored.
Initial assessment by telecom technicians and executives indicates sabotage. Regional Business Manager NCD Bill Wartovo was at the locations this morning to assess the damages.
There was a clean cut. It was intentional. Somebody intended, it came here with an intent to damage the fiber.
The damages have affected Telecom's landline services as well as internet and data services. Telecom technicians are now working around the clock to restore these services.
We started getting things done as early as this morning. The actual work is now, as you can see, is progressing. We hope to complete and restore services by about 7-8 o'clock this evening. Yes.
Two confirmed locations are at Badili, where multiple fiber cables have been cut, and at Gordon's Industrial, where fiber and copper wires have been burnt. Due to the extent of the damages, telecom services may take up to a week to be fully restored.
The hospitals, the police, the ambulances, all the essential services that are affected by this, ordinary people are affected.
The damage to the Badili cables were done yesterday at around 11 a.m. and the burning of the cables in Gordon's happened early this morning. In a statement, Telecom confirms that other sites damaged are in 7 Mile and Gerehu. Outside of Port Moresby, an optical power ground wire that runs between Medang and Ley is also down, and investigations are underway to confirm the cause. This is not the first time telecom cables have been the target of sabotage. Towards the end of last year, there was a string of attacks on telecom cables in Port Moresby. Telecom put out a 30,000 kina reward to anyone with information leading to the capture of the person or people responsible, but no one was held responsible for those attacks. Sarah Aupong, National EMTV News.
Telecom PNG says disrupting telecommunications service is an offence punishable by law, and the public are urged to report any suspicious activity within their communities to police, NICTA or Telecom PNG customer care. For more than 4 decades, people at the Busu compound and parts of the backroad settlements have used the Busu River as a water source. As the country celebrates World Water Day, the people say they are still waiting for the government to bring into the communities piped water supply. Bethany Hariman and cameraman Ragel Kepas visited Busu River community.
Living on the outskirts of Ley City means being away from government utilities like electricity and water supply. Those who live on the fringes along the backroad area look for water during the dry season.
Long time, me digi get me castelo iya. Papa mama me or die, na me stop until last place.
Their source for drinking water has been the Busu River for at least 4 decades.
Me pesa botim or candidate na ono se supply morai karon plan nogat. Nogat na nogat tro. Me pesa digi warana mi pesa kisi mone mea lausin deti na mi pesa kisi green plana se kuklonge na drink nongin.
Today they still live as their parents did before, digging for clean water near the fast-flowing Busu. As a result, the river itself has claimed so many lives over the years. The family laundry is done here. Mothers wash their babies and pots from their homes are filled with water for drinking and cooking. World Water Day should be a reminder of the difficulties faced by ordinary Papua New Guineans who are still looking for water fit for human consumption. Now, for people that live along the Busu River, this is the only source of water during the dry season and during this time of El Nino-like effects. The Busu settlement and others along the back road area are now home to people who work for companies in Lae who can pay for water bills, and they have been demanding for a piped water system.
Na time wara rain ko na drum and pull up and pasa si drum wara na pasa yusim na drum wara finish and pasa kam tigim ay wara na pasa yusim da nusa tigim na sa deti and pasa raw si deti go and pasa si clean flour block cook kai na clean flour drink.
The national government recently launched its nationwide wash policy, but the international agency suggests that more work needs to be done, and in these pictures it shows that PNG still has a long way to go. Bethany Harriman, National MTV News, Lae.
Customer Services Manager of Water PNG, Wallace Pingin, says access to safe water is a need for everyone, and it is their social and commercial obligation to provide that service. But due to operational costs and non-payment of bills, providing safe water is a challenge for the organization. In Lae City alone, Water PNG customers owe 16 million kina to the company. The police and correctional service departments are the two customers that owe substantial amounts of money to the company.
Currently, there are only 779 Water PNG customers in the city connected to the main water supply. Close to 8,000 users have their water disconnected for non-payment of water bills. Wallace Pingin says while the country celebrates World Water Day today, the role of Water PNG needs to be better understood.
We think that water is just we think it is just an essential thing. Yes, it is essential, but it's more to it.
Access to clean, safe water remains a challenge in developing countries where it is estimated that only 8 out of every 10 of the people have access to safe water. In Lae, people living on the fringes of the city are yet to have access to safe water. There are plans in place to provide safe water to those living on the city's fringes. Water PNG says unpaid bills and high costs make it difficult to provide the service.
We have to make money to start developing into new areas, and it's going to bring. So when we collect 16 million, we will have money to start reinvesting into areas like 5 Mile and places that we haven't been to. So.
To address this issue, the PNG government, through the Department of National Planning and Monitoring, have established the WAS policy. This policy is aimed at looking at the basic need for access to safe water and sanitation. The PNG government wants to see 7 out of every 10 people having access to safe water and sanitation by 2030. Mata Luis, National MTV News, Lae.
Over 20 magistrates from around the Pacific region have undergone corruption proceedings training involving money laundering cases in the region. This training will help magistrates to better understand the processes involved in exercising their powers while dealing with money laundering cases. Participating magistrates from Papua New Guinea, Fiji and Solomon Islands attended this special training in Port Moresby.
For most acknowledging all these principal residential magistrates from the 4 regions across Papua New Guinea, Fiji and Solomon Islands who have attended this anti-money laundering and financial terrorism training in Port Moresby. This training paves way for magistrates to fully exercise their powers while dealing with widespread corruption cases involving huge money laundering, fraudulent activities, improper procurement processes and FT foreign investments. British International Government and Risk Institute Director Dominic Limoyen said, money laundering is an international issue.
We only look at a very specific area, so we're very much looking at financial crime prevention or white-collar crime. The interest from the international community is that this is a globalized thing. When there's an organization called the Financial Action Task Force, which monitors countries all over the world in relation to their money laundering defenses and in relation to terrorism financing or weapons of mass destruction. And they're looking at how financial illicit flows go around the world, and it's a very complex problem.
This training is one mechanism where the law and justice sector, in partnership with international organizations, have formulated to advocate on money laundering issues and combat financial terrorism across the Pacific region and throughout the world. This first of its kind event, conducted by British International Government and Risk Institute called GovRIS, supported by the British High Commission, is another milestone in the magisterial service. It is part of its reform aimed at boosting the law and justice sector.
Workshop is emphasizing on the Act as to the judicial approach we take in trying to address this issue.
We never thought that we could extend our powers. We have that ancillary jurisdiction, and with the legislations that are now passed by the Parliament to address these issues.
The objective of this training is to assist the magistrates in dealing with applications made by the prosecutors when they come to court with regards to money laundering. Certain features to look for when they make an application, either to restrain the property or for an order for the property is not to be dealt with.
Meanwhile, the main loophole is with the implementation of the appropriate legislation like the Proceeds of Crime Act to effectively deal with money laundering cases in the country. Eric Arupma, National EMTV News.
Hagi Oil Palm General Manager Graham King has called on the government to find businesses that are already providing services to the people and partner with them, not the other way around. King was a panelist on Tanim Ground discussing the decentralization of government. Both King and Church Representative Reverend Bernard Siai said district development authorities need to work with businesses and churches to ensure services reach the people.
King says that last year his company provided medical care for 76,000 people in Biala district, where his company operates. This was because of the lack of medical services in the rural area and was a key area where the District Development Authority will have to look at. He also added that his company had worked on roads and bridges linking Biala to Kimbe after it was washed away last year. That cost this company 2 million kina. When he put in an invoice, the government had said there was no money. He said the services they provide is way better than the government's, and the DDA needs to work closely with them. King also talked on the tax credit scheme of 1.25%, and he said it was nothing, and that it needed to be lifted to 5% if the government wanted businesses taking part in the scheme. Minister for National Planning Charles Abel said the government was looking at lifting to 5% to better ensure partnership with businesses. Another key institute in public-private partnership and delivering services to rural community is churches. Reverend Bernard Siai says that even in the most remote parts of the country, you will always find a church. He says that churches have been around, providing services such as education and health services. And the District Development Authority needs to take seriously partnering with churches. Abel responded saying that the government has not forgotten churches and the work they do. He said churches that provide services does usually get funding, but unfortunately this year due to circumstances, funding was delayed. He added that the government will still be funding them through other means like District Development Authority. Adelaide Sirox Kari, National EMTV News.
Coming up after the break, we'll bring you details from today's Parliament sitting, the first for 2016. Welcome back to National EMTV News. It was another late start as Parliament commenced this afternoon for the 2016 year. Getting straight down to business, the opposition bombarded the government's side with questions about the country's state of the economy. Prime Minister Peter O'Neill was again seen to defend the country's position on the matter.
Observed for the late minister assisting the Prime Minister on constitutional matters, Stephen Kama, and other former members of Parliament. Down to business, Prime Minister O'Neill was again confronted with questions about the economy. Opposition leader Don Pollier asked about the shortage of foreign currencies, the depletion of foreign reserves, the total public debt level, and the UBS loan. He asked about the position of the government regarding all these matters. In response, Mr. O'Neill again defended PNG's economy.
The monetary policy of any country is not managed by government, but it is managed independently by the central banks. As such, they are responsible for managing our foreign exchange reserves. Mr. Speaker, I know it's grandstanding to the highest degree for us to just come and say anything that we want to say, but we must be responsible on what we say and factual about what we say. Mr. Speaker, it has been noted that our currency has been under pressure, but it has not declined to the degrees that he is talking about.
Parliament was adjourned to 10 a.m. tomorrow. Deli Waigeno, National EMTV News.
Cuts to the Christian health services has come to light on the floor of Parliament today. Northern Governor Gary Jufa questioned Health Minister Michael Malabag over the matter. The Health Minister says the situation of the economy has dramatically resulted in the cuts.
National government's move to cut funding to Christian health services was questioned in Parliament this afternoon. Northern Governor Gary Jufa pinpointed evidences of the cuts, stating health services will decline in remote areas of the country.
Health just advise us exactly one, whether or not this is true, exactly how much these cuts are, and exactly to where.
The Northern Governor was serious in getting a positive response from the Health Minister, however, burst out when other members laughed about the matter. The Health Minister admitted that the 50 million kina cut is for the payout of wages to those employed by the Christian health services.
Yeah, there are cuts to most government departments, and not only in health, education, other sectors right across the board, due to our process, our current situation, funding situation as it is right now. But the health component is not affecting services as it is.
Minister Malabag says the department is monitoring the situation with constant measures not to compromise the health of people in the country.
I said it very clearly, and I said we are aware of it, and we are trying to get all those details so I can bring it back to Cabinet so we can sort out those shortfalls.
Jack Lapava Jr., National EMTV News.
Still on health, the minister assured the House that medical drugs entering the country are genuine and of quality. He told Parliament the Pharmaceutical Board is closely testing drugs before it is supplied to health centres. Malabag made this statement following questions relating to the rise of counterfeit medical drugs in the country.
But when the drugs are coming on like that, we have our people, have pharmaceutical council right now who are screening all these medicine that are coming in before it's actually sent out to the districts and to the rural areas. So there are currently our systems in place that are taking care of them. So, Governor, let me assure you that most of the medicine that are coming in are all completely certified before they are moved out to the provinces.
Lands Minister Belly Allen and the O'Neill-Dion government were taken to task today over land legislation proposals they promised to deliver when they got into power. In a question without notice to the Lands Minister at this afternoon's Parliament session, Rabaul MP Dr. Alan Marat asked when this proposal will be put before Parliament for deliberation. This question raised an issue over a person known to the Lands Department and the Ministry who has been able to get away with the sale of urban development leases throughout the country.
1. Banning of SABL. 2. Prohibition and control of foreign ownership of our land. 3. Regulating urban development leases, UDLs, to open up state land to more popular Nigerians. 4. Strengthening the process of awarding state land to prevent land grabbing and illegal land deals.
Lands Minister Benny Allen said the draft bill has been given to him by the Lands Department, but this bill has been referred to the Law Reform Commission by the National Research Institute to be fine-tuned.
Last week, I was with senior management officers, and we did discuss on this issue. And there are certain metrics that needs to be addressed at department level. So they are looking at those metrics at the moment, and it should come to Parliament in this time of Parliament.
This raised a supplementary question from Southern Highlands Governor William Powie, who said leaseholders, especially of urban development leases, are selling these leases without proper scrutiny. He said this needs government direction and called for a moratorium on transactions on UDLs, while pointing out a particular individual who is known to deal in corrupt UDL sales.
Some people have become overnight millionaires because they sell this UDL, which they are not supposed to. And the person that he's referring to is one guy that we do know.
At this juncture, a point of order was raised by Grand Chief Sir Michael Somare. When a second point of order was raised by Grand Chief Sir Michael, Minister Allen responded.
This man mi plato korsa mi blacklist him ma. That's all. Mi gonna come up him nupla company na height ani los la company I'm apply ken so I'm hard lo yimi but.
Sarah Aupong, National EMTV News.
The opposition has registered a vote of no confidence motion today to the Speaker's office. This is the opposition's third and successful attempt at registering the vote of no confidence motion. The motion was moved by the leader of Pangu Party and Deputy Opposition Leader Sam Basil and seconded by Grand Chief Sir Michael Somare. Mr. Basil said a change of government was needed, seeing that the government was avoiding answering important questions raised on the floor of Parliament regarding issues such as the country's state of economy, health and land issues and pay cuts. Opposition leader Don Pollier said the motion is expected to be presented in Parliament for voting next week. And now looking at our finance news. The Kina closed at $0.3265 US in the interbank market. At Bank South Pacific, Yokina was buying $0.3190 US, $0.4177 Australian dollars, 0.2807 euro and 35.51 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, gold and copper closed higher, while coffee and cocoa closed the day lower. Palm oil and copper closed unchanged, while crude oil closed the day higher. And on the stock market, the Dow Jones closed at 21.57 points higher, the ASX closed at 16.52 points lower, and the All Ordinaries closed at 8.55 points lower. Ahead in the news, an abusive son out on bail for inflicting pain on his father, and stories making headlines overseas. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the news. Many times, Papua New Guinea is known to the outside world as the home to domestic violence against women and children. However, this story is different. Thomas Otoase from Gulf Province has been subjected to domestic violence from his biological son, Captain Peter Otoase, a PNG Defence Force intelligence captain. The father, Thomas, has been living under threat and fear since 2011. Thomas has been constantly beaten and assaulted by his son for breaking up with his wife. Last Friday, Captain Otoase was arrested and charged for grievous bodily harm by Hohola police after he broke his father's mouth. Captain Otoase is currently out on a 500 kina bail, waiting to appear in the district court.
In 2014, he went down to Israel among intelligence people for training. When he came back, he produced a knife to me and put it on my chest and said, "I brought this knife from Israel, specially marked for you." He threatened me with this knife on 2 or 3 occasions. He doesn't carry it around now. He must have lost it. But he threatens me with a long iron steel, which
In January last year, he broke my younger brother's arms, and he points this iron at my head, throws it at me, and tells me, "I will kill you with this iron. I broke your brother's hands with it, and I will murder you with it. I'll crack your head open, and your brains will spill on the ground."
In the medical marijuana industry, researchers in Israel are now growing new strands of cannabis. The aim, they say, is to develop plants that will one day be used to treat specific ailments and diseases.
We're on the streets of Tel Aviv watching a guy smoke marijuana, not the illegal kind, but medical marijuana. Call it kosher cannabis. Its growing usage and the country's liberal medical cannabis laws have made Israel one of the world leaders in medical cannabis research and development.
Cannabis until now was not bred in the most scientific or most modern methods.
In a secret, secure location in northern Israel, we visit Tikkun Olam, one of the country's largest medical cannabis growers. They show us what they call their mother house, the genetic warehouse of cannabis, where they splice together different plants to create new strains of cannabis. They're pushing the plant to its extremes. Some strains have some of the highest levels of THC ever grown, the chemical that makes you high. Others have none at all. They're high in CBD, the chemical that's been shown to have medical benefits.
I believe that we are scratching the beginning of the world of the knowledge about cannabis plants.
Each new cannabis harvest is lab tested to measure the exact levels of chemicals. The goal, to one day create marijuana plants tailored for specific treatments and maybe even specific people.
Israel is right on the cusp of being able to grab hold of this entire industry and become the real mecca for marijuana research.
In Israel, the politician encouraging this revolution of medical cannabis is the ultra-Orthodox Minister of Health.
If I have to look strictly how I can help the people, sick people which need this cannabis, I think I did the right thing.
Exporting cannabis is still illegal, so Tikkun Olam has started joint ventures with farms in America to grow strains of cannabis developed in Israel. The medical cannabis market is expected to hit more than $20 billion in America alone by 2020, according to newly released numbers from industry researchers New Frontier.
We're standing here in front of a number of the oils and different types of cannabis you sell. How big can this be as an export business?
It could be a business of hundreds of millions of dollars.
Medical cannabis still has its critics, and doctors say global regulations make cannabis research difficult. Cannabis advocates insist the science will back up the usage and turn this once illicit drug into a blooming market.
An outspoken anti-radicalization and anti-ISIS figure in Brussels is taking on ISIS, even though he says he may be risking his life in the process. Speaking in an exclusive CNN Frontline interview, Iman tells the worldwide collective effort must be made to put a stop to the terror group before it's too late.
Residents winding their way home through the streets of a quiet Belgian suburb. On nights like this, it's easy to forget this is a country facing very real threats. We've come here to meet with a potential interviewee. He agrees only to a neutral location. Assalamu alaikum. Imam Suleiman van Eyl is one of Belgium's most outspoken anti-radicalization, anti-ISIS figures. He arrives with a bodyguard, but determined to speak.
We live in an era where everybody who tries to speak out and stand up for the truth, that he will find people trying to stop him and refraining him from doing so.
People in a European capital city who speak out against what they believe are dangerous extremist trends are being, yourself included, subjected to some very credible threats from ISIS. And that is horrifying.
I believe that it's a part of our Islam that we protect the country that we were raised in and that we try to make the country that we lived in prosper. And the problem is the misunderstanding of this youth that they think when I attribute myself to a non-Muslim country, it makes me a non-Muslim, and that doesn't make any sense.
Belgium security sources tell CNN that through 2015, an average of 5 to 6 Belgians a month left to join ISIS. And it's a pipeline that flows both ways, with some of that number successfully retracing their steps home. For the families and the communities they return to, it only exacerbates the fear. Geraldine Heinigen and Veronique Hout are from the Mothers Collective. Both have sons who left Belgium to join ISIS. Geraldine's was 18 and a half. To her, still a boy, but old enough to die fighting in Syria. She received the news in a text from the Syrian front line. Both the women are trying to weave their pain into something bigger than their loss, trying to keep other parents from experiencing their suffering.
Every sign, every case is different. When you look at them separately, they don't look like signs of radicalisation. But when you look at the whole picture, you realise that these are signs of radicalisation. They're part of the recruitment process.
In the aftermath of the horror that swept through the streets of Paris late last year, the Brussels suburb of Molenbeek emerged as the nexus of the plot. And it's in Molenbeek where the Mothers Collective are now working with the newly founded Montasser Dalma De-Radicalisation Centre. The centre counsellor agrees to speak to us to describe some of their work, but asks that we conceal her identity.
The youngest patient that you see is 12 years old, and her parents have given you permission to share her story with us today.
Almost overnight, she started wearing the full Islamic veil. It's been 3 weeks now wearing the full jilbab, a long veil with the skirt and everything. So I tried to understand her motivations. Is someone telling her to do this? Not so long ago, one of her sisters left for Syria, and since then, this little girl feels completely overwhelmed. She's so young. The mother is devastated with worry.
Geraldine has a stark warning for the parents that come to her.
We need to make people realise that if you do not act right away, it can very quickly be too late.
Since the Paris attacks, the Ministry of Interior says the laws have been changed to give police greater powers over minors seeking to travel, and those over 18 who are already on watch lists. But the families and the communities at the heart of this say, ultimately, they know this is their battle, in spite of the threats that have become a reality of life here.
Is there anything else I can lose? I've already lost my son, so there's nothing else that they can do to me.
Trukai Sports is next. I'll be back after the break.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. The SP PNG Hunters home ground, the National Football Stadium, is the top playing field in the Intrust Super Cup. Tweedhead Seagull says playing the Hunters at the new stadium and in front of a huge home crowd was going to be difficult, but they matched the Hunters in a very physical game and almost pulled off a win.
Tweedhead coach Aaron Zimel says despite the result, the whole team had a great time in PNG, especially the young players in the team.
Come to PNG, Kokopo and that, we've always been treated really well. We've had the opportunity to get out and go to markets and meet the people firsthand. I'm really proud of my players that they always bring gifts and things that they like to give to the people as well. And
he added, the Hunters' home ground is probably one of the best in the Intrust Super Cup competition.
It's a real privilege for us to be the first team to play Michael and the Hunters here at your stadium. It's an amazing stadium.
On a personal note, Zimel congratulated Michael Marum for his appointment as Kumul's coach.
First time I've seen Michael since last year, but congratulations on the Kumul job. It's well deserved. You guys are lucky to have someone of his calibre and who is a PNG national to coach that side. So, yeah, I just want to say congratulations.
He praised Marum and the team for being such a quality side since their inception in 2014, saying they have brought a whole new brand of football and have raised the level of competitiveness. Elijah Lavette, National EMTV Sports.
Stones Taekwondo and NCD Taekwondo and other members of Taekwondo PNG are now calling on the executives and the president, Peter Miria, to convene the annual general meeting after a 14-day notice lapsed on the 19th of March 2016. The last AGM was held on the 17th of December 2013, with no president's or financial report at the meeting.
An email about the AGM was sent to President Peter Mira and his two-member executives and other concerned parties, including the PNG Sports Federation, on the 1st of March 2016. Jamuga Stone, a prominent and long-time Taekwondo instructor in the country, is now urgently calling on Taekwondo PNG to present the 2014 and 2015 financial reports at the 2016 AGM. The national government gave Taekwondo PNG about 1 million kina to prepare the national team for the 2015 Pacific Games. The results were very poor, with only 2 gold medals. The AGM is the only forum to form a new national body to be known as the PNG Taekwondo Union Inc. This AGM must be convened as a matter of importance for the wider Taekwondo community throughout the country. Elijah Levitt, National EMTV Sports.
True Kai Sports continues after the break. Stay tuned.
True Kai Sports.
Welcome back to True Kai Sports. PNG Rugby is set for a bigger and exciting year after signing a TV broadcast agreement with PNG's premier free-to-air network, EMTV. The partnership will see the final for the Export Rugby Championship broadcast live in August, as well as the National 7 Series the following month.
Deliver on our objectives.
PNG Rugby Football's General Manager Frank Genia said these were indeed exciting times for PNG Rugby and is confident the partnership will further boost the profile of the code throughout Papua New Guinea.
Not only are we establishing provincial rugby within the country, but through this broadcasting partnership, we now have the opportunity to increase the visibility of our sport, which has been a huge challenge that has faced the organisation for a very long time. And we're extremely grateful for this partnership, particularly because MTV have the largest reach within the country.
Under the current agreement, MTV will broadcast the final of the Export Championships. And with the inclusion of East New Britain in the National 7 circuit, the province will be hosting the first of 4 legs, the Dawapia Sevens, from the 3rd of September, with Goroka, Lae and Port Moresby to follow suit. Dawapia will be a great boost for East New Britain, who have proven to be the most successful union in the country.
We actually saw the Eastern Britain Kayas Rugby Sevens team return to the scene for the first time last year because of the great and the tremendous work that they have done with their local competition in Eastern Britain, and also purely because of their centralised location within that region. We've rewarded them with an opportunity to host one of the legs in the national series.
Chief Executive Officer of MTV, Banu Sud, stated this was an incredible opportunity for the television company to increase their capacity in providing for their viewers, considering the popularity of rugby in Papua New Guinea.
Having done Pacific Games successfully and hopefully very soon with FIFA in the production partnership with FIFA, we would like to make sure that this is another sport that we would like to start from the start and then make it as a very most popular sport in the country as well.
Rugby Union remains one of the fastest growing football codes in PNG, exceeding an estimated 12,000 participants. The Rugby Championships and the National 7 Series will create a pathway to develop those current figures, utilizing schools and the surrounding communities with an opportunity into the national jersey. Jeremy Mogi, National EMTV Sports.
Argentina had recalled one of its football genius, Lionel Messi, to Buenos Aires to help turn around the country's soccer fortunes as it risks elimination from South American qualifiers for the 2018 World Cup.
Barcelona star Lionel Messi was back from injury and training with his Argentine side in Buenos Aires province on Monday, as the South American team seeks to recover from a troubling start to region's 2008 World Cup qualifier. Messi missed the first 4 rounds last year, and Argentina, 2014 World Cup finalist in Brazil, got only 5 points after a defeat by Ecuador and draws with Paraguay in Brazil and a win over Colombia, leaving them 6th in the 10th nation group. Now the Argentine side is preparing for matches away to Chile in Santiago on Thursday and at home to Bolivia 5 days later, and needed points on the board. Chile are still on high after clinching Copa America victory over Argentina last year and could pose a threat for Argentina. But Chile are regrouping under new head coach Joan Antonio Pizzi, who took over the helm of former coach George Sampaoli, who walked away from the team in January. Ecuador currently lead the South American World Cup qualification rounds with 12 points, followed by Uruguay and Brazil. Argentina are sixth with 5 points, just ahead of Colombia. Shane Soroya, National EMTV Sports.
Hundreds of keen football enthusiasts in Egypt were treated to a 3-day training camp run by 10 American NFL players. American football is not entirely new in the country, which already has 2 leagues and a dozen teams. Over 400 people signed up within hours to learn from the best in the industry, including Egypt's 2 all-female teams.
No, don't do that. Do not lead with, don't do that. Not this, not that.
This is how you get into beast mode.
Hey, don't dive like that.
Learning to hit from former NFL running back Marshawn Lynch. But this isn't a camp near you. American football is going abroad, bringing the hits, the pain, and unique motivation.
The more y'all work, the more I get paid. The more I get paid. Keep working for your boy. Hey, that's not working.
It's American football without barriers, or AFWB for short. 10 NFL players held a 3-day camp in Egypt.
So here's a sport that is newer, it's different in their culture, but it's a fun sport. It's a huge team sport, and it's really the definition of a team sport. And it builds friendships and lifelong friendships, and it's just something that we want them to live with.
Football isn't completely unknown in the land of pharaohs. Egypt already has 2 leagues and a dozen teams.
People here in Egypt, they like violent sports a little bit, and this is very appealing to them. So whenever people see, like, okay, this is amazing, I want to go, I want to do this, I want to hit somebody. Actually, I prefer for lineman defense, because I love hits. I love being aggressive and something like that.
Get out of here!
400 people signed up within hours to learn from the best, including from Egypt's 2 all-female teams.
I have a dream, like for the sport, especially for women here in Egypt, for the American football to prosper here.
And for y'all show great teamwork, and that's very important in the sport of football.
But there's more to football than the hitting, drills, and push-ups.
We want to polish it up from a standpoint of, you have to eat right. You have to be healthy when you play this sport. You have to make sure that you have the right equipment, because when you have these pop-up sports in other countries, they're not always doing it right.
It's unlikely the gridiron will overtake the pitch, at least anytime soon. Soccer is still king in Egypt. But who knows? Football could make an interception and lead to a touchdown here.
That ends True Kai Sports. The weather details when we come back.
True Kai Sports. True Kai Sports.
Your weather forecast for tonight and tomorrow. In the southern region, occasional showers and chances of developing to rain for Port Moresby, showers for Daru, some rain for Kerma, and showers developing to rain for Alatau and Popondetta. In the Momasa region, rain with showers for Ley and Vanimo, rain with thunderstorms for Mendang, and rain with occasional thunderstorms for Wewak. In the New Guinea Islands, rain with thunderstorms for all centres. And in the Highlands region, rain with occasional thunderstorms and fog for Mount Hagen, and rain with occasional thunderstorms for Goroka, Mendi, Wabek and Kundiawa. Now recapping our main stories for tonight. questions on the state of the economy as Parliament commenced. Telecom cables sabotaged at various points in the city, and World Water Day celebrated amidst challenges. And that's the news, sports and weather for tonight, Tuesday, the 22nd of March 2016. On behalf of the entire news team, I'm Hope Imaka. Pleasant viewing. Good night.